when it comes to social media, here are a few things that I want you to really keep an eye on, whether you're managing this for a client or for your own business. Let's talk followers versus engagement. Sure, it's nice to have a lot of followers, but followers don't necessarily equal fans, and they certainly don't equal profit. So, when it comes to running social accounts for a business, you are so much better off having really good engagement and having maybe 1,000 true fans, people who are willing to buy everything you create from now until eternity, than to have 100,000 or even a million followers that are completely fake accounts. Because you can actually buy followers pretty easily, which is quite scary, but you can. But true engagement is the stuff that's going to build success for you on social media. You may occasionally come across accounts like this one. So you'll see that the profile photo is unrelated to the content. The number of posts is 9, and that is way off from the number of followers. The Instagram handle might be unrelated. In this case, they've obviously already changed the Instagram handle to be related to the new business that bought this account, but occasionally you will still see this being the previous handle. And then if you were to head to tagged, you will also see what this account's audience previously tagged them in, which again is going to be largely unrelated to what the new brand is posting. So these guys are essentially just changing this account over to look like their own account, and they will eventually change the profile photo as well. But doing this too quickly and all at once would raise really big red flags on Instagram's back end. So often you'll see a little bit of growing pains with these accounts where they kind of look like a baby chick that's not quite a hen yet and it's going through that weird transition period where we're not sure what's happening. And that's just because they're buying accounts and kind of transitioning them into being their own brand. And the thing is that as a user of social media, we all follow hundreds, if not sometimes thousands of accounts, so you don't really know who you're following, and you wouldn't even bat an eye if you saw a post from someone that's, Instagram tells you you're following, you don't remember following them, but you would just think, yeah, maybe. So these guys are kind of counting on the fact that people don't know who they're following. So they're not going to be all that upset if a new account comes across their feed that they don't remember following. And while that all sounds great, it is super, super dodgy, and Instagram really frowns upon this. So make sure that you are not doing things like this. And if anything is ever feeling a bit off, somebody approaches you to do something like this, and it seems too good to be true, chances are it kind of is. Now, let's talk about always staying on brand. This might seem like a little bit vague corporate terminology, and it kind of is. Yeah, in the corporate world, this is talked about a lot, but all it basically means is that you're creating and planning content according to the brand guidelines, which might be and probably will be completely different client to client and business to business. And we'll talk a lot more in detail about what brand guidelines are and how to follow them when we talk about branding later in the course. The next thing to remember is what is happening in your client's world or in their audience's world. As a social media manager, you kind of have to retrain your brain to think from a client's perspective and their audience's perspective, especially if they have a local, not global audience. So you might be thinking, okay, is there something on my client side of the world that's happening right now that I should be aware of that I can cater to with my social media content? This is something people get caught up in quite a lot when working for international clients. So, for example, Father's Day here in Australia is in September and in Canada it's in June. So, if I had a Canadian client, I'd make sure to do extra research on what's happening on their side of the world because it may not be the same as what's happening on my side of the world. One of my earlier clients was in the real estate space, which, as someone with about $1,000 in my bank account at the time, that made me a little bit uncomfortable as a space because it was so far removed from where my own finances were at in terms of real estate investments. But it was something that I had to kind of retrain myself into thinking, all right, what's happening in their space? Which articles should I look at? Which newsletters should I sign up to so that I'm staying on top of updates in that space so I can suggest content that's really relevant to this audience to my client. Then let's talk about evergreen versus trending topics. Now, this is not to say that Friends aren't a trending topic. For example, when they released the Friends reunion, this absolutely was a trending topic. But as a show, this is something that people will watch and talk about for years to come. Whereas Squid Game on the right here was very much a quick trend. Everyone binged the show over a couple weeks, everybody created and consumed the memes, and then everybody forgot about it just as quickly. And as users of social media, we're always thinking about what memes are trending, what celebrity couples are breaking up or getting together, what movies are out, what are the hot things in fashion at the moment. And all of that still has a place in your social media strategy from a business perspective, but it's also really important to incorporate evergreen content in your strategy as well. The term evergreen comes from the evergreen trees that stay green all year round, in the same way that evergreen content is relevant all year round. So you want to make sure that you are sharing trending content because that's the stuff that can potentially go viral, which is awesome, especially on social media. But you also want to make sure you're incorporating evergreen content that is timeless and is going to be relevant to somebody, whether they see it now or a year from now or 2 years from now. And lastly, it's important for you to know that on a business account, your audience is always going to be thinking WIIFM. What's in it for me? While your mom or your sister or your friend might follow you just because they're in your personal space and so they're following your account to stay on top of what's happening in your world, your social media audience is going to be a lot more ruthless and a lot more selective about which accounts they follow and why. So they're always going to be thinking, what's in it for me if I follow this account? How do you cater to my needs? What value am I likely to get from your content if I follow you? So those are a few of the things that I would like you to really keep in mind as we go into all of the following few platforms in the next few lessons in terms of the differences between managing social media for personal use versus business use. And now, in the next lesson, let's jump into talking about social media from an organic or free, unpaid perspective versus using paid ads. So, I'll see you there.